Welcome, everyone, to Build the Brand, a parent's playbook for raising a marketable athlete. We are so glad that you are here. I want to let you know right off the top. Let me tell you the rules of the game in youth sports, travel ball has changed. NIL is not just for college athletes anymore, they're for middle schoolers and high schoolers because they are getting brand deals. In 2023, over 30% of NIL dollars went to high school athletes. In select states, not every state allows this, but in select states, some high school athletes have made more than college athletes. Yes, we are taking visibility, credibility, and opportunity to the next level. But none of that matters if your kid's name gets caught up in the wrong narrative. So we want to tap in today to the power of a personal brand for young athletes and how parents play a vital role in every stage of that. So, without further ado, my name is Tonya McKenzie. I'm the founder of Sand and Shores, communications, sports media expert, and multimedia journalist. I have four athletes of my own, one who is joining us today with his own expertise, but he'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that. I am the chair of the Los Angeles County Commission of Alcohol and Other Drugs. I champion youth led efforts because I think our young people are so important and they deserve that. I have been a member of Chambers of Commerce. I've coached over the years. I've been an athlete myself. My husband has been an athlete, and the game has just changed so much over the years. We've seen young people lose their opportunities because they didn't understand what was right and what was wrong. There's so many things that we could go over, but today we're really going to focus in on some of the basics. And if you have any questions after that, definitely feel free to let us know and reach out. We are here to help. So that's who I am. Raymond's going to tell you a little bit more about his self, but he is the founder of RM Specialties. It is a social media management business, and he has helped various different types of businesses, including athletes. Currently, he is at University of Nevada, Reno, running their social media, and put it on mute if you're not talking, kid. And he is the associate director of strategic communications at the university. He played high school basketball. He played at Sarah Lawrence College. He was a coach at University of Nevada, Reno while he was getting his master's, and now he is running their media and communication. So definitely we'll get more into all the great things that Raymond is doing and some of the practical advice that he is able to bring to the picture, hopefully to help things be a lot more clearer for each of you. Now, the power of an athlete's brand. When I say personal branding these days, people are like, oh, I don't need a brand. My kid doesn't need a brand. Actually, your kid is a brand. So are you. But let's focus in on them because in this digital media world that we live in, we can't ignore the fact that your digital footprint is your resume. Your digital footprint is the path to a scholarship or away from it. A personal brand, it's your competitive edge. It's your child's competitive edge. College coaches and brands, they Google your child before they offer them any type of scholarship. Brands will Google your child, to see what is in their background. 89% of recruiters say they check an athlete's social media before making an offer. That is 100% true. Your kid can be ranked, he can be talented, but if his digital footprint is shaky or elusive, those opportunities can disappear. And don't get it twisted. A brand is more than logos and fillers. It is who they are. I want you to think about it like this. A brand is what people think about you and say about you when you are not in the room. How do you want them to feel about your young person when they hear their name? How do you want them to relate to them? And you can use some of this stuff for yourself, but it is very important that you recognize coaches talk, recruiters talk, They all communicate with one another. When they hear your child's name, do you want them to be like, ooh, not that kid? Or do you want them to be like, yes, he's great, hard worker? All of those things are important because as you focus more on their personal brand and you focus on their digital footprint, those are the sentiments that you are leaving every time you post or don't, right? So I'm going to go ahead and lean into Raymond again with his NCAA level insight. He's going to break down some of the stuff that college recruiters and university PR teams actually look at because there's a team that works on looking at who they're bringing in, who they are going to have represent their organization. There's a team. It's not just one person. It's not just the coach. There's a whole team of people. So he can talk more about that. But understand that 7 out of 10 coaches have pulled offers based on social media content. Red flags, immediately understand. Racial slurs, misogynistic content, drug references, trash talk, and yes, inactivity. Complaining, um, complaining about coaches, complaining about teammates, all of those things, negative connotations are red flags when they are seen on social platforms. The algorithm does not care how talented your child is. It does not. It does not care about A's and B's. The algorithm and the digital footprint that you leave will stay with you. It doesn't matter if you're a straight A student. If you got bad stuff out there on the internet, it will find its way to a decision maker that's making a decision on your child's future. So without further ado, Raymond, I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Hello, everyone. As you heard before, my name is Ray McKenzie. I played basketball at all levels. I played in high school. I played at the collegiate level at Sarah Lawrence College. I came here after getting my bachelor's in economics to be a graduate assistant for the Nevada men's basketball team, which primarily drives all the NIL collectives total for the school in comparison to other sports. I started as a GA, so I was on the court, being with the players, working with the players, being a part of the player development staff. And as soon as that came about, as soon as my time came up being a graduate assistant, I ended up becoming the sports information director. So working off the court, working behind the scenes, dealing with media interviews, press conferences, and coordinating all of that behind doors, talking to ESPN analysts about the team, personalities of individual players, how they are off the court, on the court, and just getting a well-developed scope to the people asking the questions about who they need to know in regards to our team. And so with that being said, I've been able to learn all the ins and outs of just social media, NIL, in this new generation. NIL is a big piece to what is going on around college athletics, and it ultimately gives the opportunity for players to gain opportunities that they might not have later on. Because at the end of the day, before I start this, it's pretty fair to say that at some point the ball stops bouncing, you stop swinging the ball, you stop throwing the ball at some point, and it's for everybody. So the skills that you're learning in regards to being marketable and social media and how that plays into athletics, ultimately these things go and carry themselves on to after sports into your professional careers. So as that, we shall get started. So with the new era of youth in college sports, it's important to know that today's athletes are brands in motion with social media and then portraying themselves out to not only the people they know, but the people they don't know. It's important that we understand that the brands are very important to what athletes are trying to do. And at the end of the day, now with the element of NIL and what it has become in regards to name, image, likeness, it's completely shifted the game. You have guys earning up to $2 million, $3 million. And just as we saw recently with number one draft pick Cooper Flag, he apparently, due to reports, made almost 28 million in NIL, which is kind of crazy. And with that being said, social media, personal branding, and just college recruiting in general are more than connected than ever. I think that at the end of the day, it's important to consider all these factors And it ultimately starts with the parents. I mean, parents are the first agents, the first mentors, the first managers in all this. And it's very important that they are informed about the things that come about with NIL and the game at firsthand. So um, parents should be very educated, very knowledgeable in these things to help guide their child through these obstacles, this new era of money being paid directly to the players, and how that kind of impacts their image in general. So that being said, is development over exposure. I think when it comes to skills and your athlete, they obviously should have highlight reels, should have content up there regarding their skills and what they're able to do in their respective sport. But ultimately, it comes down to the fundamentals because as you get into high school, the game gets more competitive. You get into college, the game gets more fundamental. People have the same attributes as you, but you need these different fundamentals, these different skills that can make you stick out. So it's not just about posting highlight reels, but ultimately, when you get up to these professional leagues, ultimately your skills are going to get you into that door. It's important to understand that yes, you may be athletic, you may have these things that stick out, but a lot of guys at that level can be freakishly athletic and jump through the gym, but they don't have the necessary skills to kind of progress their careers forward in that respective league, whatever that may be: basketball, baseball, football, volleyball, softball, you name it. And I think ultimately multi sport experiences can help long term development. I think learning in different sports, for example, someone who plays soccer probably has better hand eye coordination, foot coordination, and playing basketball alongside that ultimately helps you in the long run. So I think it's just important to get your child into sports at a younger age, just so they're able to kind of go through that um, stage of learning different abilities, different attributes that they need to progress their athletic careers forward. And so, with that being said, it really comes down to the recruiting realities when it comes to social media and this NIL world. I mean, skills, yes, but also it's the off court stuff. It's the GPA, it's the character, it's the social behavior off the court that matters. As much as athletic skill matters, you can't get to those Division One programs without a efficient GPA. I mean, a 1.5 isn't going to cut it. Simple. So you have to be locked in off the court in the classroom just as much as you are on the court. And with character and social behavior, I mean, with my experience, I understand that I've talked to NBA scouts, I've talked to ESPN analysts, and understanding that what you do off the court ultimately impacts the opportunities you have on the court. Because there's a lot of guys that I can name off the top of my head that have not been well off the court, and that ruined their opportunities in the future. And it sucks, but those guys were looked at as possible Division One athletes, possible NBA, really good NBA athletes, and their careers just didn't pan out because of their off-court behavior. And it happens, but it's rather important to educate the kid on the responsibilities that happen off the court and how much that impacts their athletic career going forward. And ultimately, when it comes to getting yourself out there as an athlete, it's all about being proactive. You can make highlight reels, you can email coaches and attend camps. That's the best thing because you need a platform. Social media is able to amplify that, get that out there, and make sure that you are able to be seen. And that's the whole goal, to be seen, to be looked at, so that when coaches get those emails, they're looking for you, because there's a lot of people who don't reach out and they miss those opportunities because they refuse to speak up and reach out to coaches using their social media and emailing. And I think it's important that you get yourself out there, you attend those camps, because college coaches are out there looking, and they're looking every day they have, every free day they have to look at recruits that they want to bring in the following year or even the year after that. They're looking. And another factor that I think is to keep communication professional. I think parents should support, but not overstep. But there's a fine line between making sure that your child understands that communicating is the best way to get through that door. And ultimately, if a coach is interested in you and he reaches out, it's better to respond as soon as you can rather than later on, because at that point, you're showing that this is something you're not taking seriously. If you keep communication urgent, they know, okay, he really wants to take that step forward. He really wants to progress his athletic career forward by keeping communication strong and keeping communication urgent. And so that kind of falls in with the business of NIL. I mean, athletes can profit from personal brands. That comes with merch, endorsements, or even making money off of social posts that you're required to do in order to showcase that you have this deal going forward that you can ultimately profit off of, right? I think nowadays with players being paid directly, I mean, it kind of opens up the door for a lot of companies to reach out and get those deals going with collegiate athletes. And it's best to stay in good standing with businesses and staying on top of those things, because posting yourself with deals from companies ultimately attracts other companies. It's kind of a domino effect. And the positive effect from that is just more deals. And I think it's important because now it's trickling down to even the high school level. The top high schoolers in their respective sports, basketball, football, volleyball, baseball, are getting NIL deals before they get to college, which actually helps them because it enables them to kind of get a grip of the new realm of NIL and collegiate sports before they even actually get there. So if that's what they want to do, it's better to start early and take that step forward. But with income and NIL and getting paid thousands of dollars from collegiate programs, it comes with taxes, contracts, and compliance. And it's better to be informed about all of that. Therefore, you don't step over compliance that and that you don't mess yourself up with taxes and contracts. And that's the role of the parent, is ultimately to help guide them through those things, because at a young age, even in high school, we're not necessarily taught in high school how to file taxes, what contracts look like, what you should look for, compliance, and why there's a compliance stage where you can't post anything until you are cleared, so to speak. So I think it's important to keep that in consideration. And so there's the common mistakes in the NIL era. It's oversharing or sharing inappropriate content on social media. I mean, again, you see so many people, they overshare about maybe the stages or the phase that their team is going through that's not necessarily great for the team. They're in a rough patch, and they overshare about what the coaches is doing, or they're not getting enough time, or this player is doing this and they should be starting over this player. And it's just all nonsense. It's all self-sabotage in a way for an athlete. And it's better to keep that out of social media's way so you don't portray that negative connotation on yourself, because even when you think nobody's watching, everybody's watching. Especially when it comes to money and NIL and you're getting thousands of dollars, everybody's watching, including the coaches that you are playing under. So it's better to keep yourself out of that way and ultimately just be careful and be smart about what you're doing. And another thing is signing deals without legal or financial evidence or advice. I think the lack of advice has gone or driven a lot of players down the wrong road. I mean, we can even see players in the draft that are skipping draft workouts to avoid teams. I think there's just unethical ways that people are going about different things. But at the end of the day, you can get yourself in a really tricky situation signing deals with companies or even agents that are self-seeking. I mean, in human behavior, we're all known to be self-seeking at heart. And it's important to really understand that you need to put yourself in the best situation for your future. And you need to really trust the person that you're making deals with, trust the agent that you're really working with, because ultimately you see nowadays there are agents looking at college athletes and saying, here, sign with us, we'll take care of you, but we'll take 15% of whatever you make NIL wise. And 15% doesn't seem a lot, but when you look at the amount that collegiate athletes are being paid and the amount that professional athletes are being paid, there's a drastic gap. You have collegiate athletes getting paid and then giving 15% to an agent. But even now in the professional leagues, you have professional athletes that are only giving 4% away to their agents. And that's because they're making these great deals with their agents, and their agents are ultimately helping them out, understanding that I don't want to take all your money. And they're getting paid millions of dollars, whereas the collegiate athlete is getting paid thousands of dollars at most. Maybe a million, 2 million at most, but a lot of people are not making $2 million, even in NIL in the collegiate space. And so, with that being said, I think also prioritizing brand over team academics. I mean, even in my experience, as you will recently read with Nevada basketball, we recently came out with the story that, our NIL ultimately was leaked, and that kind of caused human disruption within our program, our team, because obviously people are butting heads now because one person is making more than the other. Whereas if it didn't get leaked, they wouldn't have that problem. They would have kept going and kept playing together, but ultimately that caused a little fraction, which kind of drove our season downhill. And those are those type of things where it's like, yes, the brand is important, but your team in academics is ultimately what's going to get you through that door, get you those NIL deals, because as you keep winning, more companies are going to draw to you, want to do deals with you and the team, and give you guys free food or free merch, and get you guys to post and make you money. So it's better to utilize that and understand that your brand is important, but ultimately team first if you're in a team sport. And without academics, you're not getting anywhere. So it's all about building a marketable brand. The social media presence is important, as we've been preaching this whole time. It's ultimately staying active, staying posting, constantly interacting, finding college coaches to reach out to. But then it's also the off court stuff that shows college coaches that you are a leader, you are reliable, and you are responsible. So that's also taking part in community involvement or leadership roles, whatever that may be, whether it's in your high school, or your college. Find a club that you have enough time to invest in that shows your leadership roles, and that helps coaches trust you more and become reliable. And ultimately, it shows and adds to your resume to NIL companies that this person is responsible, and this is someone we want to embody our image for our company in regards to dealing with college athletes. And another thing is telling a story, what makes them unique beyond the sport. And I think this is an important factor because, as I mentioned earlier, this goes beyond just athletics. This goes to the professional career that you're going to have after you're done playing sports. And when a professional employer looks at your resume, they want to see the things that stick out to them. What makes you unique? What makes you fit for the job in comparison to other applicants? And so it's important to build up those habits, those good ways of thinking going forward in regards to your life, your future, and your brand. And so this ultimately comes down to the parents' roles. Um, Athletics, college athletes are so young and they're getting a lot of money at such a young age, which is something that is drastic, and it's changing everything around them and the way people interact with them, the way people look at them. And it's ultimately important for parents to encourage the independence and responsibility and to continuously encourage that. It's important that they are responsible with this money because there's a lot of guys who get through that door and get the money, but then they're ultimately not responsible enough and they ultimately make the wrong decisions using that money and being irresponsible. And so it's important for parents to be emotional anchors and not necessarily PR manager, because there's a lot of emotion that come through it. And there's things that come with the money, especially when you're getting paid a lot. There's things that you're required to do day in and day out. For example, we're not going to pay you $1 million just to not perform. And now it sucks that there's a part where coaches have to be a little transactional with the money that's in play, and they never wanted it to be like that, but now that's just the name of the game. And so now, even on a bad day, they expect you to perform in and out, whether or not you're having a bad day off the court or whatnot. You're getting paid this amount of money, you're required to perform to a higher degree than before when you weren't necessarily getting paid. in the past. So there's these different things that have to be taken into consideration, but have to understand that regardless of money, the athlete is still human. At the end of the day, we have human emotions. Things happen off the court that may happen before a game or a couple of days before a game, but it's important to understand that emotional factor about the athletes. And then ultimately, it helped them understand long-term consequences of short-term choices, as I've been saying over and over and over again throughout this thing. Short-term choices can change your whole life if you're not thinking straight. So it's better to guide them down a path where they're well informed and mindful of the circumstances of different situations and how one small accident or mistake can ruin their whole lives. And I think that's very important to consider. So it takes a village. It's not just the parents though. It's the trainers, the mentors, the tutors, and financial advisors that you put your kid in front of, and ultimately being able to trust all those people that I just mentioned for with your child. And it's better to have the right voices in their ear because again, we see a lot of athletes. I mean, I can't stress this enough. A lot of athletes have the wrong people in their ears and they go down the wrong path because of the voices in their ears that they're listening to. So it's better to understand and discern who is around your kid and who is able to give them that proper advice for them to be successful in the future. And then it's important to also consider NIL legal help or consulting because it's fairly new and money is at stake. Futures and opportunities are at stake. And if someone comes into it not well informed, it's very likely they can bring their child down the wrong path. So it's better to consult with people who are well informed and want to help and make sure that your child is safe and secure in the realm of NIL. And then network with other parents and trusted resources. As I said before, all these people are here to help. It takes a village, and everybody's getting a grip of the new atmosphere. And I think if everybody comes together and gets well informed on the issue, a lot of kids will be helped in a proper manner for their opportunities. And so, in long term focus, it equals long term wins. The goal isn't just scholarships or a deal, it's growth, opportunity, and success in life after the sport. And so, it's better to start early, stay informed, and keep the athlete's well being first and consider everything that I just listed. Because NIL is a crazy world and there's crazy things going on, and there's crazy ask from parents who overstep, and it's better to be well informed. So, thank you so much, and I appreciate you all. Mom, you're muted.
All right, let's get back in here really quick. Not too much left to say, but definitely want to talk about the three pillars. Okay, because we've talked a lot about each child having their own brand, telling their own story, they're sharing their values, their vibe, who they are. This keeps their content consistent and recognizable. We know there's been times where people are like, "Oh, my account got hacked." Well, if you have consistent content, when something does happen, because every so often crazy things happen, it makes sense to say, "You're right, that doesn't fit into the pattern of the kind of content they post." Make sure you have consistent, recognizable content. Brand consistency builds trust. At the end of the day, you are trying to get coaches and decision makers to know, like, and trust you. And I want you to keep in mind, depending on how old your child is, this might also affect what high school they go to, what coach they play for. Kids are representing themselves as a brand every time they do something. The digital footprint is unforgiving. It does not go away, even sometimes when things are deleted. So, getting them to understand this stuff early is also very important. Consistency, consistency, build trust, period. 70% of followers say they are more likely to support an athlete's content when they show integrity, effort, and their personality. Don't try to show who you think the world wants to see. Who you are authentically is enough, and every athlete needs to understand that. And I want you to use this formula. Think about this. Well, first, many people ask, how early should a child have social media? I'm not giving them social media until they're 15, 16. That's too late. You actually need to have it earlier. And you are teaching them what is appropriate. You are teaching them how to post correctly. You are teaching them how to represent themselves. And my favorite term is please don't embarrass your family. I say it often, but it's important that we recognize they need to learn how to do this because you are not always going to be around and they need to understand what's right, what's wrong. Game highlights. You can post game highlights all the time. Training or behind the scenes moments when they're getting ready for a game. What does that look like? A coach will want to see that. That is interesting to them. How does my player or how does this potential player get ready for big moments? What does that look like? From rest all the way into stretching and their wraps and all of those things are interesting to coaches because it lets them get into the mindset of the athlete and the parent, right? Because parents are the ones that help get them prepared. They want to know what kind of situation they're entering into if they bring your child in. Community and personal life. Well, most of the time, when you're looking at college applications, they want to see that you have some level of community dedication. Because whatever school they go to, whatever team they're a part of, they will be participating in community unity. Bringing the community into the athletic world and bridging that gap is something that all teams do. How will your child fit into that? Being able to show those community efforts and what their personal life looks like is hugely important. A complete, marketable athlete. What is their brand? That is what we're focusing on. And I know it sounds weird right now to be like, my child is a brand. Yes, they are. Google yourself. I want you to Google yourself and see what's out there. And then I want you to Google them and see what's out there, making sure that everything that is out there is what you want to have out there. Okay. A couple other things I want to make sure I touch on is that you don't need a million followers for coaches and NIL organizations and brands to start to pay attention to you. Micro influencers are just as important as the large brands. Okay. Under 10,000, they land 4 times more deals because their community is engaged with them. The secret is just having a strongly engaged audience. What your child is talking about, who's engaging with them. It doesn't matter if they have 10,000 or 10 million. If the people that they do have in their community is engaging with them, then the brand is not going to want to work with them. Right? So, must haves, really quick. You should have a digital media kit for your kid. You should have one. And it doesn't have to be extensive. There should be a great headshot in there. There should be a great photo of them in their uniform. It should be clean and professional. Your IG bio should have a clean photo. Their face should be recognizable. There should be highlight reels, 2 minutes or less. It doesn't have to be a whole production. Just some highlights of what they're like, what their performances are like. And then a link tree. You should have a link tree in your bio. And that is, a link tree has different, you can put different links in there. And, if you need more help with this, I'm happy to help, but you should have game film, bio, contact information, and anything else that you think is important. Any work that they've done, any time that they've been highlighted in other places, where their rankings are, things that other organizations have written about them, those should be in your link tree. Your kid shouldn't be in DMs. And I know we keep talking about NIL and deals, but your kid should not be in DMs acting like a desperate rapper. Okay. Like, please and me. No, that's not how this works. And if you want help with that, we'll show you how to create value so that brands actually come to you. Because, yeah, there's a right and a wrong way to do all of this. But I do have a couple of questions. Raymond, if you're still around, that was posed to us. And I'm hoping that maybe you can lean in on this. So one of the parents asked, I got a situation where my kid posted something wild. How do I clean it up? What is your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, the first easy direction is to delete it, but ultimately, um, I think there is a part where you need to make sure that the child has deleted it, and not only deleted it from its camera roll, but from the recently deleted. Understand and educate the child on how to go about this and how that it's a wrong decision. Definitely understanding the consequences of it, whether however way you wanted to go about it. But ultimately, I think with just the digital footprint of everything, if there is a username associated with the post, um, I think ultimately, in my regard, I would probably change that username to a degree not too far off from his name, but to make sure that, there's ultimately kind of separates himself from that digital footprint that is associated with whatever maybe have posted.
So one of the things I want to make sure that I emphasize is a lot of young people, they will have their social media channels that their coaches and their parents see, and a lot of them have anonymous pages or spam pages. So you want to make sure that you one ask them if they have another IG or another Snapchat or another whatever, because sometimes they do. And then you can also search by their phone number, and any gamer names that they might use, or any nicknames that they might use. But you definitely want to do your due diligence to make sure that they don't have things outside of what you know about, that can be connected to them, especially if it's an account that they have that has negative content on it. So I appreciate you sharing that. So listen, this isn't just about now, to just put a bow on this. It's about next. Okay. This is how you protect their future. Don't let anyone tell your child's story, because they will do it and it won't be in their benefit. We want to make sure that we are protecting and elevating our young people and their reputations. If there is something that we have said today that you want expanded on or you want help with, Raymond has his information here. If you want to take a snapshot of that, and mine is here. And there is also information on how to get in touch with us in the captions. But we have both been around the game long enough to know that it has changed. It is not going back. So don't be left behind, and make sure that you are taking the steps to build, elevate, and protect your child's brand. Thank you guys for being here, and I hope this has been helpful.
Take care.